Well, most people say, if you need to make more, you need more leads, more this and this and this. And they don't realize that it's kind of like a house that you turn on the water and you're wanting the water to trickle through the house. And we'll say that the water is more leads, it's more clients, it's more things. And you're trying to make sure you got water going into all the different parts of the house. But what you don't realize is that you've got cracks in your pipes. You've got rust in your pipes. So it's just spewing everywhere and you're just collecting at best. You don't have the capacity to be working because you're too busy doing the other things, and it doesn't align with what you were really trying to do.
Welcome to the Coachability Code podcast. This is your host, Jordan Ring. Coaches, you ready to be coached? Let's go. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of this podcast. Always excited for my guests, but super excited to get a chance to talk with Brad today. Brad, thank you so much for being on. If you could briefly introduce yourself for the audience, I'd super appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jordan. I'm Brad with Calendar to Cash, and I help solopreneur parents be present with their family and still grow their business. And a lot of them right now are doing the opposite. They're working constantly for their clients, still not bringing home what the work deserves. They're assuming the fix is more clients, more hours, more hustle. And that's really the trap, because the real shift isn't doing more, it's knowing what to stop. And that's what I actually help them to start doing, is to really understand where are they at with their business, where do they want to get to, and then what's in the way of their business. And my method of doing that is really working with them and seeing how many hours actually made you money. And most people say about 10 to 12, maybe 15. And you're saying of a 60-hour, that's about 25% of the time at best that people are saying that they're making money. Then I ask them the question of what I call zone 2, income later, the stuff that we do for making sure people know how to know, like, and trust us. So your networking and all those pieces.
Important stuff.
Very important stuff. And when people say usually about, 20, 25 hours, so you still got about 20 to 30 hours left, Jordan, that is things that are never going to make you money. You're doing things that are for the business. They have a dopamine effect because it's the, I'm updating my website. It's the, I'm updating my LinkedIn. It's the, I'm cleaning out my inbox. All the different things that are needed for the business, but are never going to make you money. And they're so tempting to do because they have a dopamine effect. They have a stopping point versus, say, you contact all of your leads. There's friction there because what if they reject me? So you don't necessarily want to do that. But at the same time, those are the kinds of actions that are going to get you the income. And so once we've determined that, it helps me to see what their simple problem is. Similar to a doctor, I'm going to do a set of diagnostics, get to the root cause, and then give them something simple for them to do each week to be able to reach that goal that they were looking at.
And I think that's such a great point, because it applies to starting a podcast, starting a business, that focus on the things you were saying that, okay, they matter, but the logo for your podcast or the font on your website, these things matter, but we spend so much time on them, they could be a trap for exactly what you said. Are you spending any time reaching out to clients? That is where you're going to start having some success. It's like, it's an interesting balance because, yes, of course, again, all of that is very important, but that's why I think it's so interesting what you do, because I see it says on your LinkedIn profile, the structural income coach. So I know that's a lot about what you were talking about, but talk to me about how you arrived at that title specifically, because I found it super interesting.
Yeah,
I haven't seen a lot of people. I don't think I've seen that before. So it's very interesting.
Well, a lot of people will say, and they'll come in because I say Calendar to Cash, like, oh, you're a time management coach. I'm like, no, I'm not a time management coach. And the reason is that a calendar is just our artifact of how we spend our time. And it's the first step. It's the gateway. And so often when I'm talking with people and I'll ask them, I say, does your income align with your effort? They'll say no most of the time. And then that gives me the opening to go and do the diagnosis that I just did with you all. And that helps me also to see of the moving into the space, because some people go, well, all you need to do is this time block for your best time. And then I'm like, that is helpful if the things that you're doing right now are the right things you need to be doing. So the way I structure it, Jordan, is that when I tell people and I say, this is what I want to make in the next 30 days versus this is what I need to do this week. And so I
Yep.
reallocate all of my activities under that and then fit everything else. And even still, when we do that, that still lets us see, okay, what's our real challenge? Why are we getting in our way? Especially with established solopreneurs of I've built this business 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And this is the other thing I'll run into and I'll ask people, I'll say, you're telling me you want to be working less. You tell me you want to make more
Hmm.
money. I say, let me give this scenario to you. And I say, I can give you right now, I say, I'm going to onboard someone in your program tomorrow. You don't have to pay for them. You don't have to deal with any of the marketing. They're coming on tomorrow. What's your first reaction? And Jordan, the funny thing is that most people will tell me, I'm overwhelmed. I can't do that yet.
Hmm.
And I'm not ready for that kind of time. Like, well,
Hmm.
let me get this straight. You wanted to work less. You want more money. I'm giving you the person that lets you at least get the money. And you're telling me you can't onboard them. The very basic of things. I'm like, that's not a sales problem. That's a structure problem.
Yep. Yep.
And once we figure that out, then when we look at their time, once we've blocked that out and we've noticed okay, here's how much time I'm actually spending making money. How much time would it look like if your income matched your effort? And so let's say it's 15 hours and we said we want to bump it up to 30. Well, what are we going to need to do in the process to change that? So if you're focusing on the know, liking, and trusting, for example, that may mean it's time to do a networking audit, to go back and look and see if you're a perpetual networker, you're spending 30 hours in different groups. How many of those are actually leading you to referrals? How many of those referrals are leading you to leads? Or are you just building relationships, which again are good,
Hmm.
but determine what your purpose is. And so it's those kinds of things. In other places, it may be the structure and the way that you set up your first client versus where you are now may be very different or may need to be very different. There are others that, you've developed better skills compared to where you've been too afraid to make new offerings and things. Or the other one I run into a lot of having different prices for different clients and knowing about who's your best paying client, who's your worst paying client,
Mm,
why,
great
and
questions.
then
Yeah.
looking into those pieces. It's a lot of simple things that, again, when you're so focused on helping someone become a better parent, helping them to speak better, helping them to be a better leader, taking care of the other things, like if you're running a VA agency, for example, and you're realizing I am paying myself less at the end of the day than I am my VAs, that's a challenge that you need to be considering and addressing.
Yeah, for sure. How would you say, Brad, how would you say you got to that point where you're like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to offer. What brought you into this? I'm always curious.
So two places. Number one, so in particular with the group of individuals that I work with, that I'm going to attribute back to my health coach. So about a
Okay.
year and a half ago, I was 30 pounds overweight, 30 pounds obese,
Hmm.
and I weighed 225. And I was trying to figure out. I've been working at my university. I've been still a decision strategist working with my university for the last 19 years for universities. And what I do is I work with leaders, helping them to see what's working with their programs, what's not working with their programs, and what they need to fix. And through all of that, as I was working through, and I'd been trusting my university to take care of me and take care of my family. I had reached a limit, both in terms of what their capacity was for me, as well as for funding. And I realized I needed to go out and start building out my own venture. So
Hmm.
as I was doing that and working 9 to 5 and taking care of two neurodiverse boys, I'd come home and I'd be exhausted. I'd be like, I can't do this. I'd open up my laptop. I'd start typing. I'd start looking around, figuring out like, okay, how am I going to fix this? What can I do? I'm a data guy. Let me find some things I can do to help with data
Hmm.
and other people. And I get exhausted, get overwhelmed, maybe make a LinkedIn post or two. And then I shut my laptop
Yep.
and go, I'm too tired.
Which
So
describes a lot of people right now like that. I feel like that absolutely
exactly.
relates to a lot of
Exactly.
people in struggling.
And so rinse repeat that for about a year, year and a half. And one day a coach contacts me on LinkedIn and is like, "Hey, I've got this program that I'm bringing out that's customized for men that are busy, trying to run their own gig. Would you be interested in exploring it?" I mean, obviously, I've tried to do different types of ways of losing weight. My parents are both obese. I grew up with a bunch of bad behaviors and different things. I'm like, look, losing weight right now is not the biggest of my concerns. My main concern is I need to get more business in and I need
Mhm.
to get things going so I can supply my family. And as she was understand, she's like, "Well, I get that, but let me ask you this: like, if you don't make any changes now, how are you going to be any different 12 months from now when your boys are going to be older? You're not going to be able to chase them." Like, really hitting of the, you're wanting to be a better father then versus or now versus later. You need the right resources to be able to do that, and
Mhm.
I can help you do that. And I was like, "All right, let me hear you out because I want to." And she's like, "What if I told you it was just a series of just bad decisions you've been making and that I can show you how to do the right ones? You don't have to change your diet. You don't have to do like all these different." I was like, "Okay, now you've got my attention."
Mhm.
And Jordan, through all of that, it kind of started. She's like, "We're going to start right where we were." So it's similar to when I get people and we can find out how much they're bringing home to their families. That's the same as stepping on the scale and going, "Wow, I am obese.
Mhm.
I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to go with this." And she's like, "Okay, where do you want to be in a year?" I said, "In a year," she's like, she goes, "I think you can lose 50 pounds in a year." I was like, "Sure, let's shoot for 50 pounds. Let's see what that's starting to look like." And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is not going to work. I've
Mhm.
done this all before, et cetera. And she's like, so just like everything else, we had to get data so we could see where are you at? What are you
Mhm.
doing? What are your activities? So she's like, you're going to get, you're my fitness pal. You're going to get on that. You need to start tracking your calories so I can see where you're at and what you're doing. And so I did. And she's like, "Okay, got it. We're a baseline of 2,000 calories or 2,200 calories at a time. Next week, I want 2,150. Next week, I want 2,100." So it's minor changes that didn't feel like that much. And
Mhm.
so slowly over time, I started to lose the weight. And as that was happening, I was like, this feels like in a good space. And within a year, I lost 30 pounds following that same formula. And as I thought about that, I was like, that, that is what people need to get. Because as solopreneurs, we make so many different decisions in a day and so many different things of what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? What's the right direction? Am I sure of all these paces? And that as I was like, man, I am exhausted at the end of the day and I'm doing this with a full-time job and I
Mhm.
have this data background. I do see these insights. I see these trends and how the systems work and where the resources are. Like I can't even begin to think of what's going on with those families who have parents that are trying to run their own business and what the cost is on their family in terms of how many resources are they giving away to the business that were originally for the family. So now they're leaving them with the leftovers. And so that's really where calendar to cash started coming in because I needed to find the right door for them to understand. Because nobody wants to hear you're making a bad decision. But when you tell
Exactly. That's
them
not the way you
you're
sell people on it, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
When you tell them that your income isn't matching your effort, now they're listening. When you tell them that the resources you thought you were putting toward the business, you're actually overgorging your business and you're starving your family in the process, now they're really listening. And then when you step it even further, and this is where I've been in the last couple of months of the not even so much the decisions you need to make, but stop, the things to stop doing,
Mhm.
that's a very different language than what most people are saying. Well, most people say, if you need to make more, you need more leads, more this and this and this. And they don't realize that it's kind of like a house that you turn on the water and you're wanting the water to flickle through the house. And we'll say that the water is more leads, it's more clients, it's more things.
Mhm.
And you're trying to make sure you got water going into all the different parts of the house. But what you don't realize is that you've got cracks in your pipes. You've got rust in your pipes. So it's just spewing everywhere and you're just collecting at best. You don't have the capacity to be working because you're too busy doing the other things and it doesn't align with what you were really trying to do because you already had challenges with the way you built your business that's the reason your business isn't thriving, is that you need to make certain changes in your business so that when you do turn on the water and you do put in more pressure, that it makes more sense. And then things can flow the way they need to flow.
Yeah, because I've had financial coaches come on here and say a very similar thing, but in regards to money. A lot of people think, oh, if I just had more money, I'd fix these problems. But
Yep.
if you have those cracks in the foundation, in those pieces, where's the money going to go? The money's just going to disappear, right? Like, even
100%.
if you doubled your income, it's like the more money, more problems thing, but it
Mhm.
does like fit into like the similar thing. It's like, it
Mhm.
doesn't, I think we have this sense of like, because you can easily say with money, okay, that's not going to fix the problem. But we
Mhm.
have this sense like, oh, if I just did this, or if I got, like you said, if I got more leads, or if I got a different kind of clientele, all the problems would go away. But
Mhm.
most often is not the case in pretty much anything that you're trying to do, right? Like
Right.
anything you're trying to get coached in. So
Right.
yeah, super
100%.
interesting.
Yep. Yep.
What Brad, what would you say the hardest lesson that you've had to learn as a coach, whether in this line of work or,
Mhm.
just in your past?
The hardest lesson I've had to learn
Mhm.
is just because it's obvious to me does not make it obvious to them is the biggest one
Mhm.
of and it goes both ways. One of the people me being like, who's gonna want this from me? And on the other hand of they don't understand, they're not understanding it the way I do, and I need to bring in better analogies. I need to bring in better comparisons. It's like focusing in that spent. And like one of the things at the same time that I'm recognizing more and more is the where my client is. They're
Mhm.
generally not networking in the normal spent because they don't have the time or the
Mhm.
capacity because they're trying to build out their business. They're already overwhelmed. So it's more of trying to figure out like, hey, where's the best place to reach them? And I'm thinking and finding out more and more. Well, when are they going to have the time to even consider this? It's after the kids are in bed. It may actually be their spouse that's overhearing when I'm doing talks like these, or when I'm talking out and saying, hey, there's a way that you can grow both your business and your family time, and you don't have to choose. Like finding those spaces versus the trying to come to them, in the typical networking places, because this kind of work is very different. It's not I want a podcast, or I need more leads, or I need a
Mhm.
website. It's I'm feeling this struggle. I'm feeling this overwhelm. I don't want to tell anyone about it, especially
Mhm.
if I left my 9 to 5 and my spouse is trusting and believing in me to help me to they see the good work I'm doing. It's not like I'm not doing work, but they're also looking at the bank sheet at the end of the day and going, this isn't paying, and I don't know how much longer I can continue to support you so that you can do your passion. And at the same time, I've also seen the kids being like, I don't know if I can afford time with my parents, or I don't know I'm not if they're going to be able to make it to my next recital or my next
Mhm.
game and stuff, because I know they're busy working, or our mommy and daddy are busy with clients. And I know this firsthand because I'm a first generation college graduate. My dad worked overtime at the
Mhm.
factory all the time to make it so that I could be able to get to where I am today. He still met me. He's still able to be at all of my events, be at all my games and everything. And so I'm greatly appreciative of that. But it's just a very different dynamic because dad wasn't home. And he also said when he did that, of make sure you're not doing the same thing. And that's kind of been my thing as I'm thinking now with my boys. I've got two future engineers. I want to make sure that whatever I do as I'm helping them to achieve their dream is not at the cost of the family.
Yeah, I love that you make that point because it's such a balance that we have to
Mhm.
reach, right? Because it's like I want to spend more time. I just had twin girls the end of last year. Part of me
Mm,
is like, oh, I want to spend more time with them, but also like I like what I do.
mm,
I want to be able to support
yep,
them, and it's like a constant questioning of that, right? And I
absolutely.
think for a lot of people, there's it's more than that, right? It's what you're saying. Like it's okay. I'm constantly questioning that, trying to make sure I'm balanced. But I think some people really feel completely imbalanced.
Oh yeah.
Right. They're like,
Oh yeah.
I can't spend any time with my
Mhm.
kids. If I don't, they're not gonna be able to have food. Like I think there's a lot of pressure there for a lot of like solopreneurs, but I think
Okay.
a lot of coaches as well. And,
Uh-huh.
in a variety of modalities are
Mhm.
facing that. And I think, again, I think you made a great point on they don't want to share it out with
Right.
other people, right? Like they don't want to talk about it. So it's like, I should be able to figure this out. But when you really, when you start to open up to other coaches, like we've all dealt with similar struggles. Like there's
Right.
no, there's no one that's like, no, 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 not no one, but it's generally like, especially when you're starting out, you're going to have some struggles. There's going to be some ups and downs, right? Like even if you get great clients in the beginning, there's going to be some phases you go through. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And then even I'm noticing this 3, 4, 5 years in that some people are like, "Oh, this is just the cost of doing business." I'm like,
yeah.
"No,
Oh, yeah,
no,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
not the cost of doing business. Just because it's what people said before does not mean that we just have to keep repeating that." And one of the other things I've noticed, Jordan, is that, the tension of I was such a good student in school. I was able to, I followed the rules, I did what I was told, and I saw the results.
Yep.
And, we followed to the corporate ladder to a point of we'd follow the rules, got the degree, got into the world, and then once we go out on our own, it come back and backfire you. I work hard and do what I'm supposed to do within your business, you could end up not being successful because you were doomed from the start
Yep.
because the structure of your business doesn't align with your lifestyle, doesn't align with your needs and your family's needs.
Yep. 100%. I love all that. So, Brad, can you tell me what has been one of your most successful strategies for growing your coaching business? What has worked for you?
What has worked for me is what we're doing right now because when people hear me, they're like, "Oh, it makes so much sense now."
Yeah.
It's because people are like, "Well, Brad, what exactly do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I make it so that families get more time and that they can keep making more money with their business." So like, "Cool. How exactly do you do that?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, I tell them to stop doing what doesn't pay." Okay, so then we go down so you're time management. No, I'm not time management, but it's similar. And so that's been the biggest thing. And that's been even my challenge on socials when I just have it in text, people don't completely understand.
Mhm.
And this is one of the reasons someone brought up a whole kind of concept and I just started thinking about it's like a new movie coming out and they're like, "Would you go recommend the movie?" I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna go recommend the movie." It's like, "Why not?" I'm like, "Well, because I didn't see the trailer." They're like, "Exactly."
Mhm.
And I was like, I need to get more trailers out. I need to get more opportunities for people to see what I do and why it's so important. Because, like I said, it's not surface level. So you can think you're being successful. A busy calendar, you could say, "Man, I am knocking this out of the
Yep.
park." And at the same time, you're not because you're not paying attention to how does this all fit within the pipeline. I still eat desserts. I love my wife. She makes amazing desserts
Mhm.
and I have to make sure I allocate for that throughout my day. And I also know the consequences if I don't okay, that's more time on. No, it's either I'm going to gain more weight, which is going to push me further back from my eventual 50-pound goal, or I have to put in extra work, or I have to eat less during lunch or dinner because those are the resources that I have available. It's either work with the resources that you have to maintain the path that you want, or be aware of what the outcome is going to be and then be ready to adjust it to what do you need to do to adjust. It's the same thing that happens within our businesses.
Yeah. And we definitely have a similar story there in terms of I worked with a health coach a few years
Mhm,
ago. And it's so much what you're sharing. I was like, we had such similar conversations that I had
mhm.
with my health coach. Because one of our things, he was like, Jordan, you can have your cake and you can eat it too. Because I'm like, I love eating cake once in a while, but it's the idea of like, I can have cake once a week at most.
Mhm.
I can't have it every day. I can have
Right.
my cake once in a while, but I cannot have it every day. And like, okay, I wasn't having cake every day before, but I was having it quite a few times. So
Sure.
it's just the idea of like, yeah, you can do if you can do certain things, but I love that you talk about getting into what's really working and also what's not working too. And I think the more coaches can really take a step back and analyze that and have some deep
Yes.
reflection, the better off they're going to be.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a challenge because, we're told we have to be on socials and stuff all the time, but
Always.
one potential client, she was like, "I'm on socials 35 hours a week." I'm like, "That's a lot." And I
Hmm.
said, Do you have a target or a method?" She goes, "No, I just jump from group to group on Facebook and I comment here and there." And it's like, "How is that aligning with you and your travel agency?" She said, "Oh, I don't even need that for my travel agency because I go to a local networking group and I get 2 clients a week." I said, "2 clients? 2 clients is good, no question, but I'm like, "You're a big fish in a small pond there," because she was the only travel agent, "and you're trying to save up money for your daughter to go to college. That's what you're telling me." So, in
Hmm.
the sense of you're not doing well enough to hire me to help you to make it to the next step, so you're not really generating a lot of income. You are, as some would say, like, you're doing an expensive hobby. And it's so interesting, Jordan, that I'm finding it more and more of those who are in the later in age, empty nester space that they come to me or we'll talk and it's been like 5, 10 years of them just doing the same thing and not getting the greatest results. So like, well, sometimes it's feast, sometimes it's famine. I'm like, yeah, but how many times is it really famine and you're just remembering the better days and you're like, I'll just get by to get back to the good days
Great question. Yep.
versus going, what was so good about during those feast days? Like why did I have feast and why am I experiencing famine now? And what can I do to change that so that you're in control of what the results are and you can see, okay, here are the actions I've done. Here's what's worked. Here's what's not worked. And now I know how I can pivot. It's the same thing we do with our clients, with all of our clients. It doesn't matter what the field is. Like we're all doing the same piece of here's your prior behavior,
Hmm.
here's your desired behavior, and here are the actions and things we know based on past experiences, based on best practices. Like no one's inventing anything new and then taking those and doing mindset shifts.
Yep. 100%. Is there anything that thinking, because you said you've been doing this specifically for the last 4 or 5 years? Is that what you said?
I have been working on this particular venture for the last 3 months, but this has
Okay.
been 4 to 5 years in the making. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Is there anything that when you were first thinking about it, like thinking back that, oh, I wish someone would have told me this to save me a lot of time or to boost you, or is there anything you can think of there?
What I needed, and this is my analytical space coming in of I needed an emotional person to kind of rein me in.
Okay.
I had started looking into I was like, I think my problem is my pitch. I think my problem is the wording and such I'm using. And so I would keep going and looking for those kind of coaches, and they were helpful. And it was also a challenge of like, okay, I was like, okay, how do I evaluate when I know this is good enough? And they're like, oh, it's an art, not a science. I'm like, I don't know if that's so much the case. And like, and I don't have a lot of resources to keep throwing out on socials that are not engaging and not working out. And the other piece that was really frustrating was that it took me several different coaches to really hone in on here's who you're serving and this is the pain that you're doing. Like each one of them in different capacities tried to help me to get there, but they were also bringing in their lens, their
Hmm.
expertise. Marketers were not necessarily the right kind of people I needed. Data people were not necessarily the right kind of people I needed because they understood what I was doing, so they weren't very good at helping me to see here's what your blind spot is. Marketers were like, I don't completely understand what you're doing. I don't completely see this. And so it just kept coming a lot of trial and error of the try this kind of coach, try this kind of coach, try this kind of coach. And each of them gave me something new and it was kind of more also kind of a trial by fire of the
Hmm.
get into a space, put something out, crickets. Okay. Why is that? Figure out what do I need to redirect? Where was my message still not very clear? Where was my pain point still not very clear? Figure out could this coach continue to help me? Nope. Switch to a different type of coach that even now at this stage, I'm now in the mindset space because I have
Hmm.
been building, I have an established space and I am getting myself out there Now it's a matter of, in terms of, what do I need in terms of mindset as I continue to move? What are the blind spots I still have that I don't pay attention to because I'm so systematic? And it's like needing someone that's in that space of the, I work with people like you because I can see exactly what you're doing. I understand your system. I understand your way of thinking. And I also understand your client and how they work. So we can see what's the common grounds need to be, what's your common vernacular need to be,
Hmm.
how do your mannerisms and stuff need to be, so they again can know, like, and trust you. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like, I am for your kids even before I knew you had kids. I am for your spouse even before I knew you were married, or anyone's for that
Hmm.
matter, because the family is that important to me that I don't ever want to see a business bloom and grow at the cost of their family.
I love that. Um, Brad, we're coming close to the end of the podcast, but I always like to ask this question to make sure that you get to share like whatever's on your heart and
Yeah.
mind. So, what's your soapbox? And feel free to stand on it. I'd love to hear it
Well,
if
like I
you have
said,
one.
yeah, no, my soapbox is definitely, you can grow your business and get time back with your family. That is 100% doable. It takes effort, it takes mindfulness, and you need to be able to recognize when you need help. And so,
That's a good one.
and that's, I think, the biggest way, and the my gateway to being able to provide value to that is, I have built out a free report that I'm building out and showing up. It's called the Stop Doing, Start Earning report. It's a personalized report where you fill it out. It's a $47 value that I'm going to give to your subscribers completely free. They're just going to
Amazing. Thank you for that.
use
Okay.
a
Cool.
coupon code Jordan.
Cool. I
And
like it.
there you go. And
And
so
where do people go for that?
they go to
You're getting there. Sorry.
startearning.com. They'll put in the coupon code Jordan, and then that'll take them to an intake form. We'll ask about five, I think it's like a three couple minutes worth of questions, and then I will send them back a personalized report within a few days, that they will see three things they need to stop doing in their business, one thing they need to start earning. And I did have a printout, but I think it died. So, but I can definitely give you the link, so that you can kind of see what that looks like.
Amazing. And Brad, besides that, is there any other place that you would want people to go to find more about you and to connect with you?
Sure. You can always feel free to connect with me here on LinkedIn. I'm Brad Coverdale on LinkedIn with serving solopreneur parents. You can find me on Facebook with Calendar to Cash, and I'm in the process of building out my Instagram. So it's a little bare right now. It'll be better as time goes on. Just search for me on Calendar to Cash. You can see the great things I'm working on there.
Awesome, Brad. Super appreciate your time today. This has been really a really cool conversation, getting to know you a little bit more, getting to know what you do. So, yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I'll make sure to add all those links. And anyone listening to this, yeah, go and connect with Brad. Go and check out his free, amazing gift of a tool that he's sharing here. So, yeah, thanks again, Brad. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Jordan.
Are you still here listening to this podcast? You're awesome. I got two CTAs for you. Number one, subscribe to this podcast for more. And number two, have you ever thought about writing a book? Contact Jordan. He can help you out. Jordan at jamring.com.